Researchers at San Diego State University polled nearly 1,300 high schools across California and found half those schools either don't have an athletic trainer on staff or they had an unqualified person filling that position. For more on this issue, we're joined here in studio by the author of this study, certified athletic trainer, Dr. Eric Post from San Diego State University. We appreciate you coming in today. Really an important issue for all those high school athletes out there and, of course, for their parents as well. How troubled were you by those findings?
Well, this was kind of our first look at what's happening statewide. So a little bit of context. California is the only state that doesn't regulate the profession of athletic training. So anyone in the state of California can call themselves an athletic trainer. You could go out to a high school and present yourself as an athletic trainer without having passed our national certification exam. This is the only state where that happens. So we wanted to look at schools across the state and see how many schools did not have an athletic trainer and how many schools had individuals that were misrepresenting themselves as an athletic trainer when they really were not qualified to do so. And we identified over 100 instances, 108 schools, where there's an individual who's not actually certified to be an athletic trainer who is providing care to athletes.
And what are the risks of injury for athletes, if they don't have a certified athletic trainer on staff?
Absolutely. So certified athletic trainers, we're trained in the evaluation, the management, the treatment, rehabilitation after injury. So everything from a traumatic spinal injury to a concussion. Any sort of injury like that, from an ankle sprain to an ACL tear, all the way to the really catastrophic things, we're trained to treat and manage those injuries. So if you have an individual there that's not trained to do so, it can really result in potentially catastrophic lifelong consequences for that student athlete.
And with so many schools across the state without an athletic trainer on hand or a person who's underqualified, as he said, how often do you think it is that high school athletes here in California are suffering really serious injuries, and those injuries, let's say a concussion for instance, they're going untreated?
Well, it's tough to exactly say, but what we found is that there's over 50,000 student athletes that are being treated by these unqualified individuals. So it's a huge population of student athletes that are potentially at risk. And it's not only those athletes at those schools, it's also the athletes that are traveling from other schools and coming to compete at that high school. So you think about the football team that's traveling on a Friday night, and they're being potentially treated by the home team's athletic trainer who's not actually certified. So it's potentially a huge population that's at risk.
And is this simply a money issue? They just can't afford to have a trainer on staff?
Well, that was another thing we found, is that it tends to be the more affluent schools that are able to afford an athletic trainer. And so the more, the schools that are hiring non-qualified individuals or electing to go without an athletic trainer tend to be the more at-risk schools and the lower income schools. Absolutely.
All right. What would you like to see done as we wrap up here? What needs to be done with this data that you have now collected?
Absolutely. So there's a bill that was just introduced, Assembly Bill 1592. And so this was introduced by Rob Bonta, Assemblyman Bonta, and it's the Athletic Training Practice Act. And essentially what it would do is establish a licensure board that would oversee our profession, make sure we're actually athletic trainers, establish our scope of practice, and also serve as a resource in case there needs to be somebody reported for practicing improperly. They have a resource that they can report that individual to.
Yeah, certainly sounds like a lot of high school athletes not getting the care that they need and they deserve. All right, we certainly appreciate your time, Dr. Eric Post from San Diego State University, the author of this study. Really important one. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Thank you.